2 Samuel chapter 7. This chapter shows how David's zeal for God's honor and glory prompts him to the desire of building a house for the Lord. He confers with Nathan the prophet on the subject. The Lord at night reveals to Nathan his will and commands him to communicate the same to David. Upon receiving this message, David goes in before the Lord and offers the most delightful prayer of thanksgiving. Verse 1 starts with, After the king was settled in his palace, and the Lord had given him rest from all his enemies around him. The events of 2 Samuel 7 happened after the wars of conquest described in 2 Samuel chapter 8. This section is placed before the war accounts to show its greater importance. Nathan's premature advice to David, verses 2-3. Verse 2. He said to Nathan the prophet, Here I am, living in a house of cedar, while the ark of God remains in a tent. The palace which Hiram built for David was an expensive, beautiful palatial residence wholly made of cedar wood. The elegance and splendor of his own royal mansion, compared with the humble quarters of the ark of God inside tent curtains, bothered and troubled David. He was so concerned for God's glory that he wanted to replace the tent with a temple. Verse 3. Nathan replied to the king, Whatever you have in mind, go ahead and do it, for the Lord is with you. Nathan speaks hastily here and rashly approves, because it seemed good and reasonable. He responded to David's question before he had received divine direction and revelation from the Lord. His answer, according to human judgment, turned out to be inconsistent with God's will. 1 Chronicles 17, 1-15. Word of the Lord comes. Verse 4. The night following Nathan's conversation with David, that is, before David could either take any measures or incur any expenses for the temple, Nathan had a divine communication. It was in direct opposition to his own view already expressed. God's response to David's offer, verses 5-7. Verses 5-7 are framed by two questions asked by the Lord, both of which pertain to building a temple for him. 1. Are you the one to build me a house to dwell in? 2. Did I ever command you? Why have you not built me a house of cedar? When Israel was in the wilderness more than 400 years before this, God commanded Moses to build a tent of meeting according to a specific pattern. Exodus 25:8-9. But God never asked for a permanent building to replace the tent. So, contrary to Nathan's and David's intentions and assumptions, God did not want a house at that time and did not want David to build one. God reminds David what he has done for him. Verses 8-9. In verses 8 and 9, the Lord Almighty told through Nathan about how he had preserved David in the past. 1. God took David from the pasture to the throne. Verse 8. 2. God remarkably preserved and protected David from all his enemies. Verse 9. That same God now gives him a gracious and far-reaching promise of the future. Verse 9. Now I will make your name great like the names of the greatest men on earth. This is an explanation from the Lord about the high calling that was on David's life and the promise to be fulfilled during David's lifetime. God promises two things to David, verses 10-11. Two reasons for the prohibition of David to build a temple were: 1. That God's people did not have a home of their own and thus were disturbed. 2. Wicked people were oppressing God's people and that the kingdom was not yet sufficiently peaceful for a temple to be built. After thus declining David's proposal to build a temple, the Lord made known his gracious purpose to David. God promises that he would solve the above two problems before the nation of Israel could build a temple for him. 1. God will provide a place for his people Israel, verse 10, to show the world the greatness of the Lord. That is, God would establish a dynasty and an enduring legacy for the house of David. 2. God will give rest from all of David's enemies. Verse 11. That is, he would establish a secure Israel. This was a greater promise than David's offer to God because David's house would last longer and be more glorious than the temple David wanted to build. God details his promise of the house of David, verses 12 to 17. Here follows a more precise definition of the way in which the Lord would build a house for his servant David. It was important for God to repeat this promise specifically because there had never yet been a king succeeded by his son in Israel. Blessings are promised to the family and posterity of David. Further, three great promises are given in reference to David's seed. 1. The throne of David will be established forever through David's son Solomon. Thus, God assures a continued posterity for David. Verses 12-13. 2. His descendants will have a personal relation of sonship to God and paternal chastisement. Verse 14. 3. The assurance is reiterated for the perpetuity of David's throne that it will be established forever through the Messiah, the son of David. Verse 16. Verse 13. He is the one who will build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. Yes, Solomon built a house for God. The family of David continued to rule over Israel for more than 4 centuries, but was eventually removed because of the evil added upon evil. Yet, out of the stump of Jesse, God raised up a new branch that will reign forever and ever. Isaiah 11:1-2. Indeed, God's promise to David was completely fulfilled in Jesus Christ. Verse 17. Nathan reported to David all the words of this entire revelation. David humbly glorifies God for his goodness. Verses 18-20. The extension of the covenant to David and his household elicited this beautiful prayer of thanksgiving to God. David prayed for God's reputation to be praised for all generations through his work to the nation of Israel. David prayed with great affection to God with thanksgiving over God's sovereign claim to bestow the divine blessing on his seed and nation. Verse 18. Then King David went in and sat before the Lord, and he said, Who am I, sovereign God, and what is my family that you have brought me this far? David never stops to be humble before the Lord. He is truly overwhelmed by the favor to him and promises from the Lord. David sat before the Lord means David actually stayed for a while before the Lord. This great promise that God spoke to David so familiarly and condescendingly left David speechless. For you know your servant, sovereign God. When David received this spectacular gift about the future, he didn't think it made him any greater. In David's eyes, it made God greater. David's humble reception of this gift is shown by the repetition of the phrase, your servant, 10 times in this prayer. Outpourings of David's consciousness of his sincere devotion to his Maker. Verse 21. For the sake of your word and according to your will, you have done this great thing and made it known to your servant. It expresses the deep sense he had of the extraordinary kindness of God, not only in designing these things for him and his posterity, but in condescending to make them known to him. Looking back with thankfulness, verses 22-24. Verse 22. How great are you, sovereign God! There is no one like you, and there is no God but you, as we have heard with our own ears. David is looking back at the exodus of the Israelites. David thanks God for his incomparable excellency and awesome wonders of how he established his people Israel as his own forever. David boldly asks that the promise be fulfilled as spoken. Verses 25-29. Verse 25. And now, Lord God, keep forever the promise you have made concerning your servant and his house. Do as you promised. From confessions of unworthiness and of the goodness of God and a recital of favors conferred on him and the people of Israel, David proceeds to petitions. Truth is an essential attribute of God, and his promises must therefore prove trustworthy. So David boldly asked God to do what he promised. He prayed for the fulfillment of God's glorious promise and thereby demonstrate his faithfulness. He builds his faith upon the sureness of God's promise and prays for the execution of the promise. The promises of God are a true guide to the prayers of his people. We may dare to ask God anything, how great soever it may be, which God has promised to give. 2 Samuel chapter 7 Questions and Answers.